More Than the Rich podcast. Today I'm here with Wendy Day, an indomitable force in the music industry.
Oh, indomitable.
I think last time I called you the hip hop first lady herself. Career of iconic artists like Eminem, Master P, Cash Money Records, unparalleled advocacy for artists' rights, which we have a lot in common in that area. Insight into music business, revolutionized the landscape for independent artists. And now we're about to explore trials and triumphs and current modern times of the industry.
Absolutely.
Okay, so first things first, you don't feel like we missed out on a golden opportunity with just J. Cole and Kendrick in any way?
No.
Okay, I just want to get that out of the way.
Yeah, I don't work on the creative side. I work on the business side, so I don't give a fuck about who's beefing with whom. You know, it's irrelevant to me. The thing that I like about it is that it was not violent. I hate when it turns violent, and I love the fact that of the big three, all of their streaming numbers went up, so it achieved.
Right, it makes the conversation start like, who is the best? I get it. What are your thoughts on Beyonce crossing?
Best is subjective, right? Like, who's the best? Like, the best at what? Selling records, putting asses in seats in shows, lyricism, choosing beats. Like, it's all subjective, right?
Yeah, the fact that it started that conversation too, because I'm seeing a lot of podcasts where they're like just trying to decide, well, what does lyrics even mean? Like, does that even equate to being the best if you can't sell records? So that conversation wasn't being had before this.
Right. Well, it was in the 90s.
That's
but
true.
It wasn't being had.
I can't even relate this beef to it. Like, is there any differences between the two? Like,
it's the same argument over and over and over. That's why when you said that you were gonna start the podcast with that, I rolled my eyes because it's like
I was like, let's get it out of the way because it's
waking up and it's the same argument over and over and over.
For sure, that's what everyone wants.
It's subjective. You know, it's subjective. Like, that's the great thing about music is you could love something and I could hate it, but it's still good. Just because I don't like it. I don't like Kanye, right? I don't listen to Kanye. It doesn't mean he's not good and he's not talented. It's just a personal choice, right?
True. Spotify letting fans modify songs on platforms. What are your thoughts on this? You briefly saw it, or do you want me to go over it?
No, I have seen it. Letting fans do it is challenging because you have to have the permission of the rights holders. So whoever owns the masters and then whoever owns the publishing. So with an artist like a Beyonce, where there might be 10 to 20 writers per song, and then there's one or two people that own the masters, it becomes a clearance nightmare. So I don't know how they're going to do that, but it sounds like a whole lot of fun to me.
Yeah, speaking of Beyonce, that was my other question. Oh, yeah, go for it.
Remember Kanye's STEM player? That was a lot of fun. I even bought that. And I'm not a Kanye fan, right? I just said that. But I bought the Kanye STEM player, and it was a lot of fun to like play with his music and warp it and change it and alter it. Like, that was hours of entertainment for me.
Do you foresee more artists doing what Beyonce's doing and crossing genres?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Just flat out. Yeah. That's okay. No, that says a lot.
I think that, you know, look at Lil Wayne. He came out as a rapper and he built a career as a rapper, and then he put out a rock album that was like very punk rock, right?
There was a couple good songs.
And yeah, I agree. And I think that it opened him up to a bunch of people that may not have ever listened to his music. Look what Jelly Roll is doing. Jelly Roll is a great example of a rapper that got into country music and is doing really well, you know? So yeah, I don't see a problem with somebody, as long as they're good at it and they're committed to it. I don't see a problem with somebody genre bending. I think that's cool. You know, music itself has no genre anymore.
That is pretty true. And everything's influenced by hip hop also. I was talking to
music is hip hop.
I was talking to Demiza, and he has a grand scheme idea of trying to reinvent the radio industry. Do you think that that's possible with the conglomerates that we're up against, or do we have to make this happen with somebody that's already in the industry?
I don't know the answer to that, because radio's not broken yet. I mean, I think it is, but I watch the numbers. You know, you and I pass numbers back all the time. We're both kind of geeks. I think I might be a little autistic. I might be on the spectrum because I really love patterns and numbers, right? And I really watch that. And radio has been growing, not by leaps and bounds, but like tiny little upticks. And if you had told me 5 years ago it wouldn't be dead by now, I would have told you were nuts.
Wow.
Because why would you listen to pre-programmed radio on a station when you could just go into your Spotify and listen to whatever you want, when you want, with no commercials?
I would
I
argue
really thought radio was
I
dead by now, and
it
it's
also
not.
has to do with affordability also, you know? Like I think people don't want to pay for streaming and it's almost like a revolting action to be like, I'll just listen to what's in front of me in a sense.
I guess $10 a month. You can't spend $120 on
I
music,
feel like
then
that
you're not
about
a fan.
YouTube sometimes though, because I have so many other subscriptions that I'm like, I can watch an ad on YouTube, and if it's going to a creator, I'm fine
Yes,
with it. Yeah,
exactly.
interesting
I know a
conundrum.
lot of people. I just looked at the stats on that too, for the amount of people that listen to playlists on YouTube. I had no idea, right? And I saw the stat, and I can't remember what it is, so I don't want to quote it because I don't want to mislead anyone. But literally the next day, I was in a car with a bunch of people, and I watched the driver put his phone up and attach it to his car, and he pulled up YouTube and he had playlists, and I was sitting in the back seat, and I just started laughing because that's exactly the stat that I had just seen. I'm like, wow, this is
Mm,
real. People
mm.
really do that.
That is cool because then it reconfirms your own suspicions in real life. So you need that. You really
Yes.
do need that.
Yes. Yes.
Um, question: provocative cover art. What comes to mind?
I'm picturing a T-shirt that Kingpin wore on our last episode of the Cheat Code podcast, and it was I think the song was called "Shake My Ass" or "Shake Your Ass," and it was a cartoon with a chick's butt. Is that provocative?
Yeah, and I was thinking
Yeah,
of the Party Next Door album cover that was recently released. It's literally,
yeah.
but I'm curious, is that you're a numbers person, so would you even recommend that to an artist?
Recommend no, because you'd have to have a certain personality and a certain mindset to be able to do that, because there's a lot of fire that comes with that. So you'd have to be able to withstand that fire.
That's an
I
interesting comment.
remember posting I remember posting a video of these two 12-year-old rappers that I was working with, and they were from the streets in Baltimore, and they were like baby's kids. They were like bad kids, but we had gotten them so far positive, like they stopped carrying guns and they stopped rapping about killing, and we had done so much work to get them like more positive, and they weren't quite there yet, right? They weren't quite positive, but they shot a video and they were smoking weed. Maybe they were 13. They were smoking weed, and I got attacked beyond words for it, for posting a video of kids smoking weed. And I'm like, wait a minute. When I was 13, I smoked weed, which is funny because I don't anymore, right? But when I was 13, I smoked weed. So I get that. I get that it's different. I'm not from the hood of Baltimore, but I couldn't withstand that fire. I had to pull it down. I tried to withstand it. I had it up for like 2 or 3 days, and then I just couldn't take it anymore. It's like either I'm going to unfollow everybody or I'm just going to pull this down because I'm tired of the bullshit.
You
So I
know,
just
that's
pulled it down. So
that kind of
if you have
has.
something,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
go
Finish
ahead.
it. Go for it.
No, I was going to say, if you've got something really provocative, you've got to be able to withstand that fire, and you've got to have the personality that can withstand that fire, because it sucks when you feel like you're getting canceled and you didn't do something wrong. That's a fucked up feeling.
Yeah. And I didn't want to use the word fame, but it's more of like attention or eyeballs, right? Like, and it makes me think of
That's
my
why you
own
do it.
my own
It's
self
trolling.
though. Like when I'm on Twitter, or even when I like something, I have to think, oh crap, I have to remember my image in society and in the world and the people that might be looking at my crap
Yeah.
or my job, just who I represent, even though it doesn't
Yes.
reflect their opinions and I'm just being dumb and I don't take social media seriously. Other people might interpret
I
it the
don't
wrong way,
either, but
but it's such a
other
horrible
people
thing.
do.
Yeah.
It is. There are people that did stupid shit. Am I allowed to curse? Is that okay?
No, yes, you can. And I was gonna say it's why I miss
Okay,
Eminem a little bit on this topic.
that's funny. Um, I, I just, I'm so torn on this because I did stupid stuff when I was 16, right? But there were no cameras rolling. So I got away with it. But the person that I was then is not the person that I am at 60, right? I'm a completely different, more evolved, enlightened human being. And it breaks
Now
my heart to
your
see
opinions
somebody
get
do something stupid.
sensationalized now.
Well, it's like you get canceled at 16. It's like you're getting canceled for being a kid. You know, like these two kids from Baltimore that were smoking weed in a video
Mhm.
were getting canceled by people that we smoked weed when they were 13. But somehow when they're doing it on their social media, it's wrong. Or maybe they're
Yeah.
wrong because they're young and black. I don't know.
I've
It's
I
crazy to me.
I would argue I've lost a lot of opportunities too by not knowing better though. Where people are creeping and they're looking
Yeah,
at your crap and then they're like, you're not mature enough, you're not ready yet. And then I see that in other people and I understand it too though. You have to learn
I
by
guess.
fire in a sense.
You do have to learn by fire. Well, we always learn by fire, only now the cameras are rolling. So the fire can last your entire lifetime.
True.
You don't
And
get to evolve
so
past
then here's a
stupid
better
shit.
question. What do you say to
Mhm.
artists that want to sensationalize and put weed in all their videos and drugs, whatever? Then they're just like, it's just part of my brand. I don't care.
I think they're idiots. I think they're idiots. And that's the problem. That's the problem
Yeah.
because if on
Explain
one
why
hand
though.
I admire somebody that believes in something so much that they're willing to withstand the fire for it. And I guess I am too. Like something I really believe in, like artist rights, I would have never backed down off of that, but a video of some kid smoking weed, really?
Yeah.
That's going to end the world? Okay, fine, I'll take it down. It's not going to stop him from smoking weed though.
Do you think live music's real demand is like actually real or is it industry hype?
I think it's a little of both. It depends on who it is. I know that when I was in Paris a few weeks ago, I went to the Kanye Travis Scott listening party
Nice.
with 30,000 of my closest
Oh
friends.
my god. That's a
And
party.
whew, and it was real, and it was sold out, and there were people outside that were willing to pay us $1,000 for our ticket going
Wow.
in. Yeah, so that was
Money doesn't
real.
mean anything. Sorry.
Yeah, but then on the flip side, I saw was it Little Baby? I don't remember who it was. There was an artist, a relatively new artist or newer artist that canceled shows on a tour because they weren't selling enough tickets. So
Mhm.
I think if you have a fan base that wants to see you live, then the numbers are real. If you have a fan base that doesn't, then no.
Interesting. What about the idea of having clones and performing in multiple places at once?
I love Okay, the
Is it ethical?
business side of me loves that.
I know.
Loves that. Um, I'm not sure because it's an experience. I guess if you didn't know, but then that's like cheating, right? That's like bootlegging or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. How do you feel about the holographic artists?
That's basically what I was talking about because I feel like Drake's already done it, you know? I think he's
Oh,
already
that's funny.
performed there and not been there.
I think that, with somebody who's passed on, like a Michael Jackson or a Tupac or a
That's
Biggie,
cool.
it gives somebody the opportunity to see somebody that isn't that they'll never get to see other than like on video, and the video is kind of grainy and color, color diffused
That's
now.
actually
But
that
as
I
long
was
as you know it's a hologram,
yeah, I
as
was
long as
thinking that
nobody's trying to fool
uh,
you.
uh, about Kiss because didn't they do that recently where they paid to make a whole live show and then didn't they sell their catalog if I'm not mistaken?
They did sell their catalog. They sold all the rights. They sold the logo, everything, which was surprising. I I don't know if they did or not. That would never hit my radar.
But that's interesting to think about how if you're already a legacy artist, you're like, well, let's just make our value go up even more. Let's make this live
Yeah,
VR thing and then let's pitch ourselves. Like, how do we maximize the sale of catalogs? I just see that being more
I
prominent.
don't know. Can I say something really fucked up about Kiss?
Go for it.
So I grew up in the 70s and the 80s when Kiss was current, and they were a gimmick back then. They weren't really taken seriously. I'm not saying they didn't have fans, they did, but they weren't like loved the way Led Zeppelin or AC/DC was loved. They and they would sell out shows, but they weren't taken seriously. They were kind of a gimmick.
It was like a almost like a performance as opposed to like a display of talent. Is that what you would say?
Correct. Correct. It was more of an experience because they came out in makeup and they had songs. There was a TV show back in the 70s called The Monkees, and they were the same. It was a television show based around this group that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't real. They were created from four TV stars that were made to look like a group, but then they were able to go out and tour. So they actually made money, you
I
know?
think there's a
And
lot to be
and I don't
applied
want to say
though for the
yeah,
industry. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, I think that if there's a fan base for something, the fans should get to see what they want. So if there's enough people to fill a club or a stadium for whatever, as long as nobody's getting hurt or maimed and everybody's an adult
Trampled,
that gets to say,
trampled.
yes, I want to see this,
Astroworld,
within
yes.
reason. Yeah, I don't see why somebody wouldn't put that show together.
Are there any executives that you consider worth studying that you look up to?
Yeah, all of them. You can learn something from everybody. Mike Karen, I've learned a lot from. He has an amazing ear. He was able to sign some amazing acts. He signed Twista, he signed Nappy Roots, he signed Bruno Mars. He signed like a lot of amazing talent. And that was just like back in the 90s. He's still signing amazing talent today. So I've learned a lot from Mike. He's probably one of the best ears in the music business. There's a guy here in Atlanta called Fly who has great ears. He's with Think It's a Game. So he signed Rich Homie Quan. He signed Trinidad James. He signed YFN Lucci. An artist called Q. He's
I
got
like
great
producers.
ears.
He signed to Go Grizzly, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. I like producers too, and that's how Mike Karen first hit my radar. I used to fall in love with the sound of producers like the up and coming guys. So
Hmm.
I always stayed current on who the hottest new producer was, and inevitably Mike was either signing them or doing a pub deal with them, or he was doing, some sort of business with them. And that's how he first hit my radar was because he and I shared the same love for the same sounds.
Think It's a Game is Lucci also, right? YFN.
Yes, Weapon
Yeah,
Lucci. Yes.
that's a good one. Dang, I miss
Yeah.
really good music. Any ideas how artists should navigate saturated streaming landscape? Is
Yes.
that an overdone question?
No, that's not an overdone question because it's important. There's 60,000 uploads a day to Spotify or something, like some ridiculous amount. So how are you going to stand out? We're building communities for our clients right now. That's our focus. So we're going on platforms like Discord, like Grouped. I'm using Laylo for one of my clients, and we're building community. So subscription based community. So for $5 a month or $10 a month, you can come and be a part of your favorite artist's club or community or subscription, however you want to call it. And then there's tiers inside of those communities. There's a tier for the super fan that get access to everything first. There's a tier in there for the moderate fan, just the people that like the artist. They have some of the music and they just want access first and they want to buy a couple of t-shirts a year. And then for the casual fan, that just really likes the artist, but maybe their best friend is the big fan, or maybe they
Wow,
just want to hear the music first because they're a fan of music.
that
So there might be
sounds
three
like
tiers. Like,
it sounds like a social media platform for artists in a sense.
yes,
Crazy.
yes, that's
Wow.
exactly what it is. It's just private.
So plain and basic. Like what? Why isn't that just for everyone at this point? It'd be very obvious who has an audience, huh?
Exactly.
What about common misconceptions like in the industry still? How do you address it?
It's hard to address it because I kind of shout it from the mountaintops, but you know, the only people that see it are the people that are engaged with me. You know, social media exists to make money. So when I put something out on social media, unless I'm willing to put a budget behind it, and I'm not, unless I'm willing to put a budget behind it to boost it, you know, the only people that see it are the people that are naturally engaged with me. You know, I've got
Yeah, it's not
150,000
like that
followers on
algorithm's on your
Instagram now.
side. That
It's
algorithm isn't
not,
on your
unless I
side.
pay. If I pay, it's on my side.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've got 150,000 people that follow me, and when I put out a post, I'd say probably 5,000 people see it at the most. And then if they are really engaged with whatever I'm saying, then maybe another 5 or 10,000 see it. But in order to have every follower see it, I'd have to spend a shit ton of money on digital ads to boost those posts.
What is one of your most memorable contract negotiations? Did it reveal anything about like power dynamics?
Yes, and it's funny because I just had this conversation with a client right before I hopped on your podcast. Um,
Pardon this 15-second interruption, but if you want to make your own podcast, consider checking out Riverside, the same thing that I'm using to make this show right now. Super user friendly. Descriptions in the link below. Back to the show.
I can't remember which one it was. I think it was David Banner. It was either the Girl Code at 300 or it was David Banner. But the thing about a negotiation is everybody has to win. You can't just like devastate the other side and expect them to be happy. So you have to really give it a lot of thought and figure out, okay, what's my goal? What outcome do I want? And now how am I going to get there? It's a chess game. You want to win, so you have to figure out what steps you're going to take and what moves you're going to make to win. And a win in negotiation is where everybody gets their needs met. So if your goal is to get a record deal that's fair, you just have to negotiate to a point where you're making money and the person on the other side of the table is making money, because if they're not making money, they're never going to market and promote you. There's no reason to. So your goal wouldn't be met. You might win the negotiation, but you're not going to have a successful career.
When you
So
talk
the negotiations for me that are the most memorable are the ones where everybody wins.
when you talk about that though, I remember you told me specifically that you didn't gain anything from Rap Olympics. So how did you
No,
benefit from helping Eminem?
I got to bring somebody that had the most talent I had ever seen in my life into society, into humanity. That's how
Wow.
I benefited.
Just that
And his
that
life was
simply.
changed. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
It's
enough for
pretty
me.
good.
It's enough for me.
Are there any others or maybe projects that you're most proud of being a part of and maybe they
Yeah,
make
all
your
the
career stand
educational
out?
Yes, all the educational stuff that I do. You know, the videos that I've got on YouTube, I think there's almost 200 of them now, talking about how to succeed in music as an artist without having to sign to a major record label. You know, anywhere where I've been able to show people a different path where they can actually be in control of their career and make the lion's share of the money works for me. I guess I'm a disruptor, aren't I? But I really love, like, even the artists that I've had nothing to do with, like Russ. Russ is a great example. I've never even spoken to Russ, right? But I love what he's been able to do with his career. And it's sort of like if I had a poster child, it would be him. You know, like the first 25 years of my career, and I'm at year 32 right now. The first 25 years of my career, I felt were set up to help guys like Russ and Chance the Rapper and you know, Earl the
Even me,
Sweatshirt.
even me.
Yes, like achieve everything that's been achieved today. You know, so that educational aspect is really what I'm most proud of. And I've got a whole new series coming. I have a series coming on TikTok. And I have to admit to you, it's kicking my ass, because being able to drop information in 1 minute or 2 minute bites is really hard to do. Really
Hmm.
hard to do.
Are you using Opus yet? Opus.pro?
I'm not.
You might want to look into that. It'll help
I'll check
speed
it
up
out.
your workflow.
Yeah.
And yeah. So in terms of like your legacy, how do you hope to? That's a really good segue, by the way, because we're talking about your legacy. Just what do you hope to leave behind? What do you want to leave behind in the industry? What kind of changes do
Um,
you want to see happen?
I want to leave behind exactly what I'm leaving behind. I feel like I'm right on path with with my goals and with my legacy. I want to change the status quo, and I want to keep changing the status quo. I think I've made some amazing changes. I think there's more to come. I'd like to involve more tech to help artists. I don't know quite what that means yet, but that's the direction that I'm going. The educational component is big. I want to leave more books, more videos. I want to make sure that there's enough out here when I pass on that it really can still make a difference in a person's career and their life, even as the music industry changes, because it changes every, 5 to 8 months right now. So even though some of what I'd be leaving behind would be old in terms of skill sets, some of the stuff that where I'm talking about mindfulness will still apply. And that's important to me. Mental health is really important to me. People growing constantly is really important to me. And then, of course, the art is really important to me.
I do have to say that you were one of the first people that I was like, wait, you're doing what? Like, what part of this is a nonprofit? And then I discovered Rap Coalition, and then I was like super intrigued because I was like, wait, you can educate people and then not. So the reason I'm getting into this is because it makes me think of all the things that I've done in my life. Have a lot of the free stuff has led me to a lot of really big opportunities, like helping people and things you didn't expect it. One person knows somebody else,
Sure.
and a lot of people don't see that as advantageous, especially right now, right? So many excuses,
Mhm.
don't have time, I got to work, whatever. Can you talk
Yeah.
about maybe like things that you unexpectedly didn't know would lead to other situations?
I can talk about the downside of it. I don't know that I can talk
Yeah,
about
for
the
sure.
upside of it. The downside of it is that because I didn't really focus on making money, now that I'm 61 and thinking about like the last, what's to come, I'm probably only going to live like another 15 or 20 years realistically.
AI.
And I have AI, right? And I have no money set aside for retirement. And that's really scary at 61 years old because if something happened to me, I'd be fucked. If I couldn't work like tomorrow going forward, I'd lose everything that I own in a
As with
matter
most
of like
people,
three
for sure.
months.
For
And that's
sure.
very scary, right?
Yeah.
So that's the downside of focusing on doing stuff for free. The upside is the warm fuzzies, like all of the stuff that crossed my mind when you said, what are you most proud of and what deals have you been part of? The the one where I got the most accolades and made the most money, which is the Cash Money deal, isn't even in my top 5 anymore. Like,
Damn.
I don't regret doing it. I love that I did it. I love the run that they had. I think it was amazing. The deal was amazing, but I think I've done so much better stuff since then. One of my favorite things that I did wasn't even a deal at all. It was, helping La Russell. La Russell was getting deal offers and he was making more money in a couple of months than they were offering him in advances. And he turned to me and he's like, "What do you think?" And yeah, I could have gone and done a deal for him and made 10% and made a couple $100,000. But my advice to him was no, keep doing this independently because you're making more money independently and the labels don't understand you yet. They're trying to take what you're doing and fit you into the Drake lane instead of seeing what you're doing and trying to maximize what you're already bringing to the table. They wanted to completely change him and bring him into a 1990s, 2005, 2010 scenario.
It makes me think you're gonna treat him like T-Pain or something. That's insulting.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that and I'm explaining it to him and he's so sharp and so intelligent that he's like, "Turn it down, tell him no." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" because once we say no, they're going to be gone for good. And as long as you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. He's like, tell those motherfuckers to suck my dick. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to say that, but I'll tell them no, thank you, you know? And so I got to turn down offers for him that weren't to his advantage. And I love that because not all artists could turn down a $500,000 deal.
That is real.
Yeah.
How's your approach to artist advocacy and education evolved?
It's always involved. Is that what you're asking? Like
Yeah, just
how
evolved
does
over
that
the years.
Oh, evolved. I thought you said
Yeah, yeah.
involved. It's evolved because it's kept up with the times. One of my complaints about what's on the internet in terms of people teaching is that it's outdated, including many of my old videos, right? And once you put it out there, it's out there. You can't pull it back because it's been linked so many different places and copied. So it's like if there's no date on stuff and somebody's watching something that I put out in 2016 and they're thinking I put it out yesterday, they're already using old information. And there's a lot of people out here that are giving advice that have never done this, that have never put music out. They've never worked with an artist. They've just interviewed folks like me or folks like you and then taken what we've told them and turned around and said, here's what you should do. Pay me $100 to teach you. And it's like, well, you've never done it. So why should somebody pay you to teach them? Because really the value is in when something's not going well, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to tweak it? So you need the live experience of somebody helping you far more than you need a video of them telling you how to do it, because a video can't tell you how to fix an issue.
Just made me think of artist development.
It's so important. Oh my God, it's so important. And it still doesn't exist in 2024. Oh, let me put the date in. It still doesn't exist in 2024. We still don't have artist development. And I'd say it's even worse today because you can go viral on TikTok and get signed to a multi-million-dollar deal at a record label, and you're not even an artist. You just had a
Ugh,
viral moment. And when you can't recreate that, they no longer want you. So it's like, really, this person's going to be a failure at 19 or 21?
yeah,
That's heartbreaking.
it's a lot of pressure too.
It's a lot of
So
pressure.
do you consider labels more ethical or just better at hiding exploitation? I remember I sent you the Spotify numbers and stuff.
Yeah. It really depends on the label. And it's not that I'm anti-label, I'm anti-ineptitude. If you're inept, I'm against you. If you're great at what you do, I don't care if you're a major label, an independent label, or an independent artist. If you're great at what you do, be great at what you do, right? My issue is with people that aren't great at what they do, pretending that they are. So, really, I rail against somebody that's irrelevant and inept. That's really more my issue.
That's a good answer. Here's a weird one though. Cultural appreciation versus appropriation. Where do artists cross the line?
Yeah. I think when you pimp the shit out of something and you don't give back, that's appropriation. When you're part of a community and you want to see the people grow and expand and not just pimp the shit out of it, then that's the highest form of appreciation, right? And that goes with any community, because you could be in the hip hop community, for example, and there's so many different communities within that community. There's the community of fandom, there's the Black community if it's Black music, there's the hip hop community if it's hip hop, there's the pop community if you're a little more commercial. So there's a lot of communities. If you're female, there's the female community. You can belong to a lot of different communities.
Is there any specific like fan engagement mistakes that you feel artists aren't doing correctly, maybe common mishaps?
Engagement. Yeah, engagement. My biggest frustration is artists that don't engage on social media. And I get it. It's a full-time job and I have trouble on mine. I have trouble keeping up.
It's
I
hard being
used to
funny all the time.
It is. It is. I used to brag about how I was staying on top of everything. And I can show you my phone right now. I am 1,487 emails behind. And that used to read zero at the end of every day. But I've gotten so busy lately, like in the past year. This has been a year now. I used to be so proud of the fact that somebody could email me and I'd respond within 24 hours. And now it's taken me 3 or 4 days, if I even see it, to respond because I'm just inundated with so much coming at me. So, to answer your question, engagement is and response is the area where most artists are failing because there could be your biggest fan and they're on your Instagram or your TikTok and they're like, "Oh my God, I love your music. It means everything to me." And you miss it. You don't respond. And I don't know why you would miss it, but let's just say you do. And then there's another artist that they really love a lot and they say the same thing and that artist responds. And now they respond to that response and they start a dialogue. And that dialogue makes them realize, like the passion comes out and it makes them realize how much they really love that other artist. And now they're buying their t-shirts, they're going to their shows. And the other artist that didn't respond is now an afterthought. When had they seen it and responded, that could be them. So I think that that's probably the biggest error that I see in 2024 is artists not engaging with their following.
I would
And that's
argue
why we're so community oriented now.
also being the first to engage, because whenever I do go viral on Twitter now, I'll go grab my white paper and be like, here's another evidence proving of what I'm trying to tell people, like engage first, provide value, make them laugh, then maybe go follow them. If they don't follow you back, unfollow. But the point is, if somebody already like likes you, you're making them laugh, there's already an
Yes,
established relationship. So that's
yes.
just my approach to like
I agree.
comments and being funny.
I also think what artists should do, and you and I as people that are kind of leaders in this, right? I think all of us should do this. We should go to the accounts of people that are similar to us and start engaging with their biggest engagers, right? And I guess you have to be a little careful with this because in a way you're picking off
You're
their
mooching.
fans,
Yeah.
but if there's somebody that's similar, doing similar work to what I'm doing, their fan base should also be my fan base. And why wouldn't I go and start engaging with their followers? Because their followers should technically be mine as well. Not that I want to poach anybody's
Yeah, yeah.
followers, but
We're like, we do different things. Don't worry about it.
exactly. If the goal is to
They'll
educate
circle
people,
back to
we're
you
not
later.
competing.
It's
If the
true.
goal is to educate people, we're not competing. It's sort of a a non-abundant mentality. Like I believe in abundance. I think that scarcity mindset is a terrible thing. I think that if if somebody has one fan, they can have two. If they have three, they can have four. If they have 10, they can have 100. It's not like you only get 100 fans, so you have to protect them at all costs. Stay away
I
from my fans.
I also argue if people knew that it only took 10,000 impressions to gain one super fan, that they would be more motivated. Like there would be more of a
Yes,
long-term goal, right? Like someone's gonna
yes.
binge it, someone's gonna be obsessed with you, but you need to expose maybe 100,000 impressions. You just don't know how long it's gonna take.
It's all math. It's
Yeah.
all math, and we don't know what each individual artist's math is. So I don't know, do I have to reach 100 people to get one fan, or do I have to reach 1,000 people to get one fan? It's all math. So if I want 100 fans and I have to reach 100 people to get one, I need to reach 10,000 people to get that 100, right? Or whatever the math is. I might have just screwed that up. But you see my point,
Yeah.
it's all math. You figure out what your math is and you go for it.
I also realized that if I would just start an account that had nothing to do with like the followers on my phone, I'd be so much further because I know the same eyeballs are just like staring at it, and I'm strategizing, and I'm gonna post like at 2 a.m. when everyone's asleep now.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
it is real though. Like it's
Can I share
interesting.
something with you really interesting?
Go for it. Go for it.
So, one of my clients, the one that has the biggest team,
Mhm.
his team, the content's being run by guys that are 21, 22 years old, and they're amazing. And they decided to drop content, instead of posting every day to Instagram and TikTok and Shorts, they decided to drop it down to 3 times a week. And I watched the artist lose 2,500 followers on Instagram, right? And I'm like, wow, that really sucks. So
Wow.
I decided to use my Instagram as a guinea pig. And I had, at the time, I had 115,000 followers. I think I have 116,000 now, to be exact. But I had 115. This is last September. And I decided to post every day without fail. And I started posting stories. I did not go live because I wasn't trying to, I wanted to just test like one thing, right? I wasn't trying to like do it all. And in that 30-day period when I was posting every day, and I never post every day, but in that 30-day period, I went up 1,000 followers on Instagram. I went from 115,000 to 116,000. Okay, that was September 30th. I stopped. This is whatever today is. It's April something or other in 2024. So 6 months later, I'm still at 116,000.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yep.
interesting?
I've
So
noticed.
that posting every day
Yeah.
really makes a difference.
Yeah. That is interesting. I have noticed too. I've been posting consistently.
And by the way, I don't post great content. Like I don't really think about it the way I'm supposed to, right? It's like I'll be eating lunch and I'm one of those people, right? I'll take a picture of my lunch and say, "Man, the salmon was good," and I'll post it. Or, today I got my hair done, so I'll probably post a picture of my hair. Look, I just got my hair done. Whatever. I'm not
I
a
think there's
great
something to learn from
strategist.
that though. It's kind of keep it like a gutter a little bit,
Maybe. I'm not a great strategist for myself. I am for my clients. But
Mhm.
when it comes to posting for me, so if I could go up 1,000 followers by posting the bullshit that I post, imagine what an artist could do that had a solid fan base and understood the science behind how to post.
Yeah, I argue there's more introverts that need to be behind cameras for sure. All
Yeah.
right, last 20 minutes. You can answer these shorter just so we can get through them. Pardon this 15-second interruption, but have you ever considered video editing? Check out Movavi. It's super user-friendly. You might be surprised by what you can learn so easily. Consider it. It's what I use. Check out the link in the description below. Let's get back to the show. Collaboration overkill. Is there such thing as like excessive collaboration diluting artist's personal brand? It makes me think of Snoop Dogg, Lil Flip, and how they're like legends despite all the collabs that they've done. Most notable brand, Snoop
Yeah.
Dogg.
Yeah, definitely most notable brand. And the hard thing is we have nothing to compare it against. Like, would he be further if he didn't do collabs? Like, is it causation? I don't know. There's no way to really study that. I don't have a control group. I think when you're brand new, collaborations are terrible because people don't get to learn who you are. You've got somebody else on the song that's leading you in a different direction than you might go yourself. I don't know that I can answer this question. I know what you're asking. I just don't know that I have an answer for it.
That's good. What impact is youth culture having on music trends?
It's everything. The market is 13 to 26 years old. That's the fan base that's spending the most money on music and their favorite artists. It always has been young. So youth culture has always mattered.
What are the biggest challenges in music licensing today?
Getting the contracts back fast enough. So the turnaround time is probably the biggest impediment. Everything needs to be done yesterday. Everything, deadlines, and that turnaround time is killer. It's key. So that's probably the hardest thing for somebody doing sync clearances is getting the contract signed in a timely fashion by all the people that were part of the ownership process.
Do you feel any artists are prioritizing merchandise over their actual musical depth? I've seen a few that have like extreme amounts of clothing, and I'm like, where's the music?
Yes. I think the ones that balance it get it right. I love what La Russell's doing. Wow, I've used him a lot as an example today.
That's
I
good
love
though.
what La Russell's doing with his merch because he's doing drops like he's Supreme. So he's doing clothing drops. He doesn't really repeat styles. And he's doing that because his goal is, in the future to be able to say, hey, anybody wearing a green Good Penny hoodie from 2022 gets into my show for free. So he's going to bring back different styles and give them current value, which is really cool.
That is pretty smart. Your items are worth more than just what you bought them for.
Yes.
Future value, so you have to
Yes.
keep them too. That is
Yes.
smart. This is a question that makes me roll my eyes. Is crowdfunding really a viable financial strategy for music projects?
Yes. I mean, look at De La Soul, right? And prior to De La Soul, I would have said no, and I would have argued the other side of this. But I watched them do it, and I watched them do it well and successfully, and it brought all of the people that contributed into their franchise. So not only did it fund them, but it gave them a fan base of people that wanted to play a role in their success, and that was priceless. Does crowdfunding work for somebody that doesn't have fans? No. Because why would somebody want to contribute if they don't know who you are, they never heard your music, and you have no friends?
Yeah,
But
it's
if your
not like
circle is
here's my
big enough,
first project. It's not that exciting, huh?
right,
Yeah, that
right.
makes
But if
sense.
your circle is big enough, I was going to crowdfund my next book, not because I wanted the investment, but because I wanted people to be talking about the fact that I was writing a book and to give it buzz that I wouldn't have to pay for. And maybe I'll
That's,
still do it. I don't know.
that's not a
It's a
bad
lot of work.
idea.
Crowdfunding's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
What are your thoughts on paying for performance slots? I'm kind of conflicted on this because I can understand if a new artist was touring and wanted to break into markets and they needed performers to open. I can see them taking money for them to, pay for their
Yeah,
tour and things like that.
to help pay
Is it
for it.
is this still a bad
I
idea?
Is it a bad idea? It really depends on why you're doing it and what your goal is. If you are opening for Snoop Dogg because you're trying to get him to record on a track with you for free, or you're trying to get signed to Def Jam, yeah, it's a really bad idea because that's not going to happen. If you're doing it because you want the experience of performing in front of a larger audience than you could ever attract on your own, then it's a great opportunity. If you're
Interesting.
trying to hone your skill and you can't get 10 people to come watch you perform, but you can go to a showcase and pay $100 and perform in front of 100 people, that's a great idea.
The best advice though is make sure it's your crowd, I would say, huh? Like so that they care about your
Yes,
type of music. Because
yes,
I've made that
yes.
mistake myself, where I'm on a
And
tour, feel
don't
great
have
about it. No, go for it.
and don't have unrealistic expectations.
Hmm.
Don't think that you're going to get discovered by opening for somebody. It's not a discovery platform. It's not how fans discover music. If they're there to see Drake and you're opening for Drake, they're going to be pissed off that you're there, because get off the stage. I'm here to see Drake. So
So
it's not necessarily a way to get discovered.
you could argue it's worth it for the sake of networking, right? Like maybe if talent
With
isn't
who?
as important. That's a good question
With
too,
who? They're
right?
going to clear
Yeah,
out backstage before Drake ever comes in the building. Who are you
I
going to
agree.
network with?
I agree.
Security?
I'm just thinking of smaller shows maybe where you're trying to meet the artist and they're more personable. I don't know. I'm trying to
Meet them
play
to do what?
devil's
Like, what are you
advocate.
trying to get from them? Like, in that case, why not go to a meet and greet and meet them one-on-one as a fan? Because at that point, that's what you are. You're a fan. If you're paying for a slot because you're trying to hang out with a famous rapper, now you're just a groupie. Why not
This
just
is
be a groupie
super
and meet them
true.
for free?
No, this is super true because even any meet and greet
And
I've
I'm
ever,
not trying to be disrespectful.
no, for sure, because even any meet and greet I've paid for, like it didn't go beyond the photo. You know what I mean? You happy? You
Yeah,
got what you came for. But
yeah.
that was what I wanted. That
And
was
if
all I
you're
wanted.
and if you're opening for somebody and you have an ulterior motive, you're going to feel really cheated, because once they realize that you're an opportunist, your opportunity is gone. It's nil.
Can you share a pivotal moment when you went against industry norms and it paid off? What did that teach you about navigating?
Oh God, all the time. Cash Money was probably my biggest, most famous going against the norm. Everybody told me that we'd never be able to do a distribution deal, that they'd have to sign an artist deal. The first offer was for Juvenile for $75,000 from Penalty Records, and I think a 12-point or maybe 15-point split. And they got an 80-20 deal that was worth $30 million 9 months later.
Whoa.
The success of that deal was just them letting me say no for 9 months because I knew their value and they knew their
Wow.
value.
Damn. Talk about holding out because you know there's
Yeah.
something larger.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Challenges. From your extensive work with independent artists, what's the biggest challenge they face today that wasn't as prevalent when you
Finance.
started?
Oh, that's what money's always been prevalent. It's still the answer though, money. Most artists don't have enough money to market and promote themselves, especially in today's oversaturated climate. So they don't have the money to succeed. And the thing that's heartbreaking to me is they think they're not succeeding because they're not talented enough. And really, they're not succeeding because they don't have the proper budget to succeed. It's sad.
This one's a good one. In the era of direct fan engagement, do artists owe their success to their fans to the extent that the fans should have a say in their creative decisions? I know Russ launched an app where you can do that now recently for his fans, but should they have a say?
Yeah.
Like personally, I'm like, I don't care, and I should probably, but I'm like, I'm gonna make whatever's true to me, however I'm feeling.
Yeah, I was going to say there's two schools of thought. So if you're an artist that wants to be authentically you and find your tribe, then no, you could never do that because you wouldn't feel full if it didn't meet your goal. I'm guessing that Russ's goal in doing that was to be more commercially fulfilling and give his fans what they want.
Yeah.
And if that's your mindset, if that's why you're doing this, then absolutely. If you're an entrepreneur and this is a business for you, then you should sell the fans what they want. But if this is an art form to you and you're trying to share pieces of yourself with your fan base, then no, you shouldn't. You should find your tribe.
Here's the quick rapid fire round where it's like yes or no questions. Streaming
Awesome.
versus
Hit me quick.
vinyl.
We got 3 minutes.
Pure profit or pure passion? Streaming versus vinyl.
Which do I prefer?
Yeah.
I think I prefer streaming, even though it's less money, because the level of artists that I work with is relatively new. So the streaming platforms are where everybody is, and I want to reach everybody where they're consuming music. At the level of maybe a Drake, community would matter to me, and that's where the vinyl would come in because I would want to sell $40 autographed vinyl to my fan base, to my
Maximize.
community. Yeah.
Social media for musicians, goldmine or landmine?
Somewhere in the middle. If I have to pick one or the other, I'd pick Goldmine because again, you have to be where the fans are. You have to create connection. But most artists don't want to do it and they don't do it well, so it becomes a landmine.
AI and music, innovation or imitation?
Innovation.
Blockchain for
I love
royalties,
AI.
game changer or overhyped?
Game changer.
Blockchain. Oh
Game
wow.
changer. Yeah.
Genuine
Necessary
interest,
game changer.
genuine interest or nostalgic fad for vinyl sales?
Ooh. I saw the stats on how many people don't have turntables that are buying vinyl. So I think it might be a little bit of souvenir hoarding going on. I'd like to think that they want to support the artists and it's something that they can see, feel, touch, and hold. You can frame a piece of vinyl.
Are extended reality concerts the future of live music or a passing gimmick?
I'd like to think that they're the future. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. We'll find out, though. Sure.
Music publishing shifts, fair deal revolution or inflated bubble?
Inflated bubble right now because it's selling at 20 to 22 times value.
Wow.
I would have answered that differently a couple years ago when it was at like 12 to 18 times. Even that was high, but right now it's really high.
2 more questions. Truly fair or just another facade when it comes to artist compensation models?
Which do I prefer? Truly fair.
Do you think it's a facade though?
No. I
And
think
the last,
artists I think artists that are focusing on making money are making money.
that's fair. And the last question is, what does it mean to be more than rich to you?
More than rich, healthy, wealthy, and leaving a legacy that matters.
Awesome. That was the cue. I I appreciate you being with me here today, Wendy. Hopefully we'll
My
catch up.
pleasure. Thanks for having me. I love you to death.
We covered a lot. Thank
We
you.
did. This was a good one.
Bye.
Thanks for your time.